Hello everyone, and welcome to this month's Flock Roundup. It's been a bit since the last one, hasn't it? Sorry about that. And I'd like to thank everyone for getting me to 1,000 subscribers, since that happened just recently. And just before Christmas, which was a nice surprise, you know? But it really means a lot to me that you all support and enjoy my work. Really makes all of this worth it. But let's get back on track and talk about what I've been uploading for the past couple months. I finally managed to re-upload all of Adastra so you can relive Darian and I struggling to keep focus while reading that game. And I've also started re-uploading Shelter. By the time this is uploaded, the first playthrough of Burry's route should be up, though these videos do poorly in view, so it'll probably be taken off the schedule. I'll put it back on eventually, since it's the last playthrough that needs to be re-uploaded. Yep, the last one. No other playthroughs left to re-upload. Ah, Burrows. I remember when the first build of you came out, I recorded the whole thing in one sitting and uploaded an hour-and-a-half long video where I didn't even try to voice act and instead just dryly read the script. Anyone remember those days? Ah, the memories. Anyway, since this is the first time I'm mentioning the game on the Flock Roundup, Burrows is a horror mystery game in which you play as Gray, a possum who has decided to end his own life. But before he can go through with his plans, he's thrust into time and space, meeting some unlikely companions that he'll have to get to know and protect if he ever wants to figure out what's happening and how to get back home. If you want to know if I recommend this game, the short answer is yes. This Silent Hill / Twin Peaks-esque game almost always has me engaged, to where I'm always looking forward to the next build. But speaking of builds, I played the most recent builds of Hero and Mark's routes, and I must say, they were something. Hero's route has introduced a fun bear that definitely doesn't remind me of anybody, which I'm hoping will spice up the route, as I've yet to find myself fully engaged by Hero's route, but he does have the fewest chapters currently, so I'm sure things will get there. But I know what I want, and that's the unstable man that is Mark. And his newest build does not disappoint. For one thing, the build is beautifully directed. Everything from the visuals and music really grips you in the moment, as yet again, Gray's trust and love for Mark is challenged, while the two decide to escape the city, but end up getting stranded in the woods for the night. So if you haven't checked out the playthrough or played the game yourself, check it out. The next game I'd like to talk about is Roads Yet Traveled, the winner of the last poll I did, and I have to give a shout out to the Anons that suggested this game to me over on FVN. In this game, you play as Tucker, a loser in his mid-20s that gets isekai'd to an alien space station in a faraway galaxy, and now has 3 charming dogmen to act as his guardians while he's there. Morrow, the kind doctor, Maruk, the stern security officer, and Autism. This visual novel can come off as a bit dry, as the majority of the time you're having one-sided conversations with some charming dog boys, but it's still a fun time just to hang out with the cast. So check it out if you haven't. Last time we talked about Northern Lights, so we'll revisit it by talking about its side game, Northern Lights Excursions, a game that'll have various standalone short stories, and we played the first of these, the Crayola? The Crayola Queen. That's how we're gonna pronounce that. The story about how Cody and his friends made that film from the beginning of the main game. This is easily my favorite part of Northern Lights so far. For one thing, we get to see Cody's creative process on how he comes up with this story. A gay romance pulled both from his own experiences, wants, and fears with being gay, really getting to that relatability that I come to Northern Lights for. It's tightly paced, gets to the point, kind of beautiful, and cliched in the best of ways. I care so much for this Wolfer, you just don't understand. Anyway, Build 4 of Chinya was released, so naturally I played it right away. Before I get too far into talking about it, Ben, Armored, thank you for the bird rep, very much appreciated. And this build was so much fun. We finally got some quality time with the Hyena brothers, and it's everything I wanted. Honestly, it's the scathing and entertaining banter between the characters that keep me coming back to Chinya, as it just makes the cast feel more like friends. Like only good friends insult each other this much while smiling. It's just a good time that still presses the investigation forward, making the experience feel well-paced no matter what aspect of the game you're interested in. Just great work, so make sure you check the game out if you haven't. Oh boy. Build 11 of Rain Check came out, so I get to talk about my favorite tiger, Theodore, who gets to be locked up and interrogated this build. But who are we kidding? We know why we all like the newest build. Like, guys, the gator is so hot. He's so hot! And you get to spend most of the build just hanging out with this gator. I think that's a good enough reason to check out the game if you haven't. But I think that's the major games that I've played on the channel since the last Flock Roundup. So as usual, if any of these interest you, please check out my playthroughs or just play the games yourself. But I'd also like to talk about what I've been playing over on my live streaming channel, which is linked below if you want to catch me live and hang out and chat. Finished up the Final Fantasy X duology with my friend Grizz, the first of which I haven't played since the PS2 was in fashion, and never played the second. And boy, they don't make them like they used to, derogatory. And don't get me wrong, these games were a great time, but all of the bad habits from that generation of Square Enix was on full display for better or worse. Which just makes it all the more entertaining. Similarly, I haven't played the original Resident Evil 4 since the PS2 era, and revisiting this was a time. Great game, highly recommend. But I played the PC port of this game, and I'm not sure why, but for some reason my game just ran slow, so I got to play the entire game in slow motion. Optimal? No. Entertaining? Yes. I highly recommend checking out a stream or two on that alone. Just an entertaining time. I try not to be the most negative on games in these videos, but the Silent Hill trilogy are some of my favorite games ever. That being said, when I streamed the Silent Hill 2 remake, I wasn't expecting a Resident Evil clone. Like, it's a good Resident Evil clone, combat feels great, exploration is fun, and for the most part, puzzles don't feel too much like busy work outside of a few notable exceptions. But it just doesn't feel like Silent Hill to me. Even the new versions of the characters, none of which are bad, but also none of which leave the same kind of impact as the original, kind of makes me wonder why this was a remake in the first place when this could have just been a new installment. I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. If you want to see my immediate first impressions, then check out my streams. I still had a great time, and I hope my criticisms are understandable. I'll be real with you guys, I've never owned an Xbox, so I didn't know what to expect when going into playing the Halo trilogy. But god, that was a lot of fun. I don't really have much to say, as it do be the run-and-shoot game, but check out the streams if you're interested in me playing through those games blind, as I didn't even know the series had a story, and didn't know the Halos were a thing and not just the name of the games. Now, I'm not a Sonic fan, but I did stream Shadow Generations, and had a time of all time. Naturally, I played the game in Japanese for the most Kino experience. Yes! Can't say it's made me a mega fan of the franchise, but it was fun enough. And it seems like the Sonic enjoyers like it, so I guess that's what matters. Here, give me a second. I need to slip into something more comfortable for the next segment. There we go. If you were wondering if I'd ever read that last Arches short story, then I guess I'm here to tell you that I did read it already. I just streamed it instead of recording and uploading it to this channel. It should still be in the Arches playlist, but it's just on my streaming channel. And for the month of October, I streamed Leo's Rat of Echo in my Chunter cosplay, which was a lot of fun. So if you want to see me reading Echo, where I actually try to voice act, unlike the original playthrough, then those streams exist, and I'll link them below. And maybe if there's any interest, I'll stream the other routes too, also in my Chunter cosplay. And with that, I'd also like to remind everyone that all of these streams are on my streaming channel linked below, and I'll also link the playlists of the playthroughs I recommend. And that I do have a Patreon if you want to help support me, but of course the normal likes and comments always help as well. Also, thanks again everyone for getting me to 1,000 subscribers, it really means a lot to me, and I hope you all will stick around. But for now, I think I'll end it here, so I hope I'll see you guys around.